She is Senior Vice President, World Curriculum. Dr. Gauri Haritkar has over 20 years of experience in the field of teacher education. She recently opted for retirement as Associate Professor from a renowned College of Teacher Education in Mumbai to pursue her passion for life skills and impactful teacher education. As a licensed consultant and coach, along with personal coaching, she facilitates training programs at various levels, specializing in life skills and training the training programs for higher education faculty and school teachers. She's engaged as a research consultant on projects in life skills education for central government, NGOs, as well as international organizations. She's a member of the Universal Human Values Cell, University of Mumbai, and has been the former secretary of the Indian Association of Life Skills Education. She has conceptualized life skills curricula for several higher education institutions and has been the chairperson for the syllabus committee of the Life Skills Education course in Mumbai University. Gauri contributes to research and academic discourse through her role in International Academic Association. She is the Senior Vice President of the World Curriculum Comparative Education Societies, USA, working for the development of an international curriculum to be offered online and free of cost to the marginalized learners across the world. She is also the Executive Director of the Indian Ocean Comparative Education Society. She is the co-editor of the World Voices Nexus, the Chronicle of the World Comparative Education Societies. Her research interests span teacher education, positive psychology, youth development, and comparative education. So welcome, Dr. Gauri, and over to you now.
Thank you so much, Swati ma'am, for that kind introduction and the warm welcome. At the outset, I would like to congratulate the DGET group of institutions for organizing an FDP on such a relevant theme, I think, in the context of the need of the hour, as well as the provisions in NEP for skill development. I understand that it is Swati ma'am's brainchild. So congratulations, Swati ma'am. Your initiative is very, very welcome. And thank you for thinking of me for this session. I see that there were 37 participants, and it's wonderful to meet. Okay, the number has increased, and it's wonderful to meet all of you, dear friends. Wish you a very, very good evening. I'm sure you're here after a long day in college. And
good evening, ma'am. Good evening, Gauri ma'am. I'm really very sorry to disturb you, but as a formality or as we customary, we need to take a group photo. Being on online as well, we need that. Okay, so I would request all the participants to kindly switch on their camera and please showcase your beautiful smile so that I can capture it.
Okay.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, participants. Thank you so much, Dr. Gauri. You may continue. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think this is a very, very good practice because for a few seconds, I was able to actually see everybody in front of me. And that's a nice way to begin the session. So like I was saying, I'm sure you would have had a long day. And I appreciate this timing of the FDP so that people need not take time out from their schedules. But what I would also like to do is not to make this like a session where I am just talking and I have attended sessions like this where I got so bored and I would just put earphones in my ears and do my own thing while somebody talks online. But we do not want to make this a session like that. So I hope we can have a sort of chai pe charcha. If you have a hot cup of tea in your hands, we can have an interactive session. Is that okay with everybody? Could we have a show of hands, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe in reactions or however way you would just like to show. Okay, I see a couple of thumbs up. Yeah, great. Great. Thank you so much. So the topic for this session is is a topic in which I'm really very much interested, and I will just share my PPT and then talk a little bit about it. Am I the host, or can I share my PPT, or do I need hosting rights?
I think you've been given hosting rights.
Yeah, I
Just
think
check
so.
it.
Yes, I have. Just a second. I hope everybody is able to see the presentation.
Yes, ma'am, your screen is visible. Yeah.
Thank you. And you're able to hear me clearly also?
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
my voice audible clearly?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thanks so much. So the topic on which we are going to discuss today is transforming learning through competency-based life skills education. And let me start with a quote by Victor Hugo, which I love. So he says, "He who opens a school closes a prison." And this is something that I have always carried in my heart as an educator. And I'm sure all of you who are here would also agree with me that this is how we need to look at education. Opening of a school or any educational institution, which means closing a prison. Now, I would like you all to take a look at this image. Children running somewhere. So much energy, happy smiles, right? If I were to ask you your impression, are these children entering an educational institution or are they coming out? What do you think? Maybe you can share in the chat, or you can unmute yourself while you're answering. Anybody?
Maybe they are coming out.
They are
This
coming out. Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
Dineshwari ma'am says maybe they're coming out. Okay.
These are released.
Maybe one
Yes.
or released. Okay, that's a wonderful for children. This really gives that impression, isn't it, that children are released. So what makes you think that they're coming out, ma'am? What is
Seeing
it in the
their
picture?
seeing their happy faces.
Seeing their happy faces, how happy they are to be let out. Now, this is a scene outside any school after the last bell rings. And I really enjoy being there because it's so nice to see them. You know, they're so happy to be free. But as an educator, it has given me, and I'm sure it has given you also, a couple of sleepless nights, because isn't school meant to be freedom from prison? And isn't education meant to be something that liberates? Then why is it that a child or a young person entering an educational institution, while enters with such a heavy heart, a heavy bag, a drooping face, wondering what's going to happen to me throughout the day inside this temple of learning? And it's only when the last bell rings that they feel that they're free to run out and do whatever they want. That is definitely not how we conceptualize education. So definitely something has to change so that children and young people would enter our colleges and our schools with a happy smile on their faces, right? Do you agree with me when I say that?
Absolutely,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yeah. So in this session, that is what we plan to explore. How can we transform learning to make it a transformative experience for our learners? Because I think that is what they deserve. And I think as educators, when we toil so much for them, this is also what we deserve, to see the happiness on their faces while they learn. Now, for this, we will be dividing the session into two parts. One is we will be looking at the gap between the demand and the supply of education. What is needed and what is being provided, and what is the gap. And in the next part of the session, we will look at how do we try to bridge the gap through the use of competency-based life skills education. So starting with why. Why is the situation the way it is? Okay. So just a thought, something to think about. Can you think of one regularly used tool, gadget, or app that we use now. We cannot do without it. That did not exist about 20 years back, maybe in 2004. Can
WhatsApp.
you think of something?
Internet.
WhatsApp,
Internet.
internet, possibly. It was a time when I was even scared to touch a computer, I remember, because I thought the moment I touched it, something would go wrong with it. Anything else? Any other apps that you remember?
The way we're using Google Classrooms and Google Workspace now.
Absolutely. Google Classrooms, Google Workspace, all the apps that are given by Google, and definitely ChatGPT, right? So we have come a long way from 2004, and our entire way of life, living our life as well as learning in our classrooms has changed because of all these new technological changes which have come into our lives. We are now living in a world which we call the VUCA world, where everything is volatile, things are extremely uncertain. It's a very complex world to live in, and it's also very ambiguous. Take the COVID pandemic. Did we think that a virus, which we cannot even see, it's so small, in one corner of the world would disrupt our lives for close to 2 years and lead to so much loss in all areas that we experience? And I'm sure many of you would have had, there would be people here who have been really very badly affected by the COVID pandemic, but we never even thought about it. Think about the global conflict that is going on. When the war in Ukraine started, we all thought, okay, it'll go on for 2 months and then it'll end. It still goes on, and conflict is even increasing day by day, right? With new countries joining in. Now, if we are living in such a world where changes are so fast, everything is changing so fast, and somewhere we are not able to cope up with that change, what is it that we need to do? Okay, we need to look into our classrooms and we need to see whether our classrooms are keeping up with the changes that are happening outside the classroom. So this is a picture of a classroom somewhere in the 1800s, right? And this is a picture of our classroom today. Yeah. If you compare these two pictures, possibly, like Swati ma'am pointed out, Google Classrooms have come in. We're using ICT to teach, but not much has changed. So even in 2024, we are still looking at education from the same perspective that we looked at in the 1800s, and that is the factory model of education. Now, what is a factory model of education? I'm sure many of you would be knowing this. It's a model where the input goes in, a child who is an individual child, and the output comes out where all individuality is stripped off that person. Why? Because that person comes out of the school and goes directly to work in a factory. Now, in a factory, when you're working in the assembly line, you cannot be an individual creative person. You have to do the same repetitive task, and you have to do it in the same way that the book says it needs to be done. So, for example, if you're folding something, okay, you've been taught one way to fold, and that is exactly how you should do it day in and day out. God forbid you think of a more efficient way of folding. It's not going to work in the factory model, which is why we need to teach our learners in the factory model of education how to follow rules, how to rote memorize, how to do everything the way it is written in the book and not deviate at all from it, how to take examinations and how to excel so that they can be better than the same versions of themselves, right? But do you think this is going to work in today's times? Because the challenges that our children face in today's times are very different from the challenges of the 1800s, right? If we continue to follow this factory model, what is the result that we see outside the classroom? So there is a huge skill gap. Employers say they have the jobs, but they're not able to find people who satisfy their skill set requirements. Young people say that they are not able to get jobs because unemployment rate is very high. Employment rate is low. Now, why is this skill gap there? Because the way the businesses have changed, the way the outside world has changed, education has not yet caught up with it. And that is the reason for the gap. So here is a question that I think we should all ask ourselves. Are we educating our future generation for the past? Any thoughts on this? Anybody? Any of the
How can
participants?
we
Yes.
how can we
Swapnika?
educate somebody about the past?
We are educating them for the past, maybe, because we are making them actually the product that comes out of our schools and our universities. The product is designed to work in a condition that no longer exists in the market, in the labor market today, right? So we are actually generating students who have skill sets which were in use 20 years back, but these are not the skills that they need today, right? Which is why they are not able to find the kind of job opportunities that they need, and they're not happy in their jobs. Yeah, that is what I mean when we say, are we educating our future generation for the past? And in order to avoid doing that, what is it that we need to do? We really need to reflect on what skills and competencies do we need to equip our learners with, which is why this FDP on skill development is so relevant, because this is a question that really begs our consideration. So what does research say? World Economic Forum does a lot of research on what kind of skill sets are required. They have a beautiful report which is called the Future Jobs Report. And if we look at this report, which came out in 2023, they say these are the top 5 skills for the future: analytical skills, creative thinking, AI and big data, leadership, curiosity, and lifelong learning. Okay. Now I want us all to reflect a little bit. So I used to teach psychology in the college. Yeah. Now, when I used to teach psychology, which one of these skills or how many of these skills was I really actively teaching to my students? That is something I really need to reflect on. Nowadays, when I speak to my past colleagues and they complain and say that students are just using Chat GPT to do their assignments, they're not writing anything on their own. Is that your experience too? That students are oftentimes taking help from AI nowadays?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and it's becoming a problem for us, right? To distinguish between what is it that the student has written and what is actually directly taken from AI. And so the next logical step would be to say that you cannot use AI, right? You're banned from
Yes,
using
yes,
AI. Yeah, but let us look at
yes.
this. If AI is the future and we tell the students that you just cannot use AI, are they going to develop the skills where they can really use AI as a learning partner? Because that is what we really need to do, isn't it? And now I want you all to answer my question very honestly. How many of us have used ChatGPT? How many have used ChatGPT? I, for one, use it very extensively. Can I see a show of hands? Yeah. So we all use it, right? So there is nothing against using ChatGPT. What we are actually talking about is ethical use. If we use something to cite and to admit and to say that, yes, this is how we have used it, not to just copy paste something from there, but to use it as a learning partner. And don't you think we need to be teaching this to our students? How to make ChatGPT a support in our journey of learning, because it teaches me a lot of things, definitely. Yeah. So this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying transforming learning. And these are the skills that we need to keep our focus on if we really want to make our education relevant to our learners. So now with so much of, things to think about, let us just take 2 minutes, a pause for you to ask any questions that you might have on whatever we have discussed till now. Is there a question that comes to your mind, or is there any experience sharing that you would like to do at this point? Any of the participants? Maybe you can put it in the chat or raise your hand if you have a question.
Pardon, ma'am, can you repeat this?
If you have, yes, if you have any question that you would like to ask, any doubt or anything that you would like to share at this point, we can take a 2-minute pause for that.
Ma'am, what you just said is something to be mulled upon. It is a huge thing. That is, I mean, what I took out from it is making ChatGPT as a learning partner.
Yes.
It's very deep. Some of the participants have some questions. I'll give them a chance to.
Yes, yes. Don't you love the word learning partner, Swati ma'am? I do.
Yes, I do. I absolutely. Mr. Mahesh Marilal has raised hand and you can ask his
Yes.
question, please.
Yes, Mr. Mahesh, please go on. Or are these hands raised from before, maybe for something that we had asked?
Yeah, you have asked that how many of you has used ChatGPT.
Right,
So
right.
maybe that the hand raised remained
That's
hand raised.
right.
But because of ChatGPT, the creativity has somewhere lost. There is one of my student who prepares all his PPTs and everything through ChatGPT only, and I came to know that he is doing from
Right.
that. I asked
Right.
him to modify also, but he's like,
Hmm.
"Ma'am, is it wrong? If it is wrong, then why you are telling me to change it?" Like
Right.
that.
Right, right. And these are dilemmas, Shweta ma'am, that all of us face nowadays, right? That it is not wrong to use it, but it is wrong to completely rely on it, which is why I wonder whether we can teach them how to use it. Whether they can really use it to help themselves. Like, for example, we all use Google, right? But I remember when Google search engine started, it was the same thing. There was so much worry about everybody copy pasting. But now we cannot live without Google. We cannot do our research without Google, right? So it is just about learning how to use something. And that is the skill that we actually need to teach our learners. That is what I strongly feel. So thank you very much for that sharing. Anybody else? I'm not able to see all the participants actually. So if you can just help me out, if anybody else needs to speak or share. Yeah.
Ma'am, Aparna Prakash Kulkarni has put up a question in the chat box, and she says that even if we teach the students to use ChatGPT ethically, aren't we discouraging the creativity from students?
So the thing is, if we really train them to be creative, okay, I'll give you a simple example. I use a lot of Instagram, right? And because I watch a lot of creative cooking on Instagram, I have also started experimenting. And creating something gives me a lot of joy. So creativity in itself is very, very joyful, right? It gives you internal happiness. Now, what we are doing is we are not teaching children how to be creative. We are expecting them to be creative. And then we are saying that don't use ChatGPT because it will kill your creativity.
Ma'am, I want to say something.
Yes, please.
Gauri ma'am.
Yes, yes, please.
Good evening.
Shilpa ma'am. Good
Yes.
evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yes.
Actually, chat GPT पे चल रहा है बात, तो I just want to share something. Just last week, my son, he's in the 8th grade. So he was telling me that he's been given 5 topics and he needs to write a short essay on it. So I said, come, I'll help you with it.
Right.
So he was like, no, I don't need your help because I have chat GPT. So I was taken aback that he blatantly told me on my face that I don't need your help.
Right.
Then afterwards, I was like, what is the use? You're not going to use your own creativity, or you're going to use your own brains, or you're just going to copy paste. He said, no, I will just take the cues from chat GPT and then I will, put my creativity in that and then I will write the essay. And then he got second in the class. So what he did is he just took cues from the chat GPT, but then creativity, words, Everything was his own. So that is what nowadays generation is doing.
Absolutely. And that
They
is
are
just
using it
wonderful.
in a positive way.
In a positive way. Wonderful. What is your son's name, ma'am?
My son's name is Rihan Shah.
Rihan, yeah. So please convey to Rihan that we have all clapped for him, and I really think we should clap for him because this is a wonderful way of using. When I say we need to use it as a learning partner, this is exactly what I mean. It's a tool that we have to use.
Because such tools are going to come up.
It
You
is
cannot
going to
ignore
come.
them. We ourselves as teachers, we are using it to the
Exactly.
fullest.
Yes,
So with this, we have to, inject our creativity and then something new has to be found.
100%.
Ma'am,
Thank you so much. Yes, Swati ma'am.
ma'am, just carrying on what Shubha ma'am had just said, one of our participants, Miss Mitali, says that we should teach Chat GPT in the
Yes.
curriculum. There's another.
They know themselves. No need to teach
Thumbs up.
students.
No, we have a lot to teach, ma'am,
They
because
have explored themselves.
correct, or we need to learn from them, maybe. But we need to, we
Yes,
really
yes,
need to
you need
teach
to learn.
the ethics of using something, we really need to teach our students that, right? I agree
Right.
100% that we need to teach ChatGPT. There are institutions which are teaching it, and I believe we should definitely not say don't use it, but we must say how to use it. That is for sure. So thank you very much for this wonderful discussion that we have had. Now, here is my question for you that I really want you to reflect on. What is the one change that you would like to make for transforming learning for our learners? Just hold the thought in your mind as we go ahead and we will discuss it further. Now, keeping all this in mind, NEP, which is the policy that we are all following right now, NEP has, I think, come at a very opportune time. And NEP has really considered the ground realities. And when they say that education, this is a direct quote from NEP, education must build character, enable learners to be ethical. We were talking about ethical use of ChatGPT, right? Rational, compassionate, and caring. These are the psychosocial qualities that NEP is focusing on, while at the same time prepare them for gainful and fulfilling employment. So the policy says that we need to nurture the whole person, not just to look at the cognitive aspect of the person. One theme which runs throughout the policy is that we need to encourage our learners to move away from rote learning to learning how to learn. Now, here is a guideline prepared by NCERT for following NEP. And this specifically focuses on competency-based education. The slide is given by NCERT. Now, what NCERT is saying here is, when we talk about building competency in our learners, what we're talking about is building knowledge, attitude, and skills. Now, along with attitude, there is one more word here which is missing, which has to go hand in hand with attitude, and that is values. Okay? So knowledge, attitudes, and values, and skills. Can I request participants to mute themselves, please? Because it otherwise disturbs everyone. Thank you. Knowledge, attitudes, and values and skills. And when we build these knowledge, attitudes, and values and skills, we should do it in such a way that it is observable and measurable in their performance. Yeah. And last thing which they have mentioned in the last box is very important. The knowledge, attitude, skills which are being built are not just to take an exam, but to use in day-to-day life. The knowledge that is learned in the classrooms needs to be transferred to day-to-day life. Now, here again, I just want to point out a small observation that I had. We are so invested in the transfer of knowledge and focusing on knowledge that even in the PPT, NCERT has completely forgotten that attitudes and skills also need to be transferred. We have to focus not only on the transfer of knowledge, but also on the transfer of attitudes and skills, right? So basic thing that we're trying to say here is we need to equip our learners with the competencies that will help them use what they learn to solve any real life issues that they might have, right? So then what is a competency? A competency is not just acquisition, but mobilization, use of knowledge, attitude, skills, and values in order to meet any complex demands that the situation throws up in front of us. For example, in school, we all learn maths, we all learn science, history, geography, so many subjects, right? Now, when the child goes to a market for any chore, for example, to buy vegetables, if the mother sends the child or the parent sends the child to buy vegetables, while buying the vegetable or while deciding what to buy, the child needs to use the knowledge of geography. Okay, needs to know whether this is a seasonal vegetable, from where has it come, from how far has it come, needs to analyze the cost. Okay, many times what happens is a person will say, okay, pav kilo is this much. The child will not really realize how costly the vegetable is. Now that is where maths comes into the picture. Science comes into the picture, where the child needs to know what does a fresh vegetable look like. Some vegetables are dark green and they are not fresh. Some vegetables are fresh because they are dark green. These are small nuances that the child needs to understand. And when the child is able to employ all these things in order to fulfill a complex demand, that is when we say that the child has become competent, right? And that is the basis for competency-based education. It's a very simple example, but I just wanted to put it forward. Now, what NEP also says is, how do we take it forward? And when they're talking about how do we take it forward, they explicitly mention promotion of life skills along with curricular goals, which is why it is imperative it is a mandate actually, and it has come in the mandate also given by UGC. Every higher educational institution must run a course on life skills. That is what is mandated. Now, when they're saying we must run a course on life skills, therein comes the question, what are life skills? Okay. And nowadays, because the words are being used so much in common parlance, many of us know about it, right? But whenever I meet a person for the first time and that person says, what do you do? And I say, I'm a life skills educator. There's always a big question mark on their face. And they say, okay, so what do you actually teach? What are life skills? What is it that you actually teach? Okay. So I give this example, and which I'm going to give start with for all of you also. How many of you are breathing right now? Can you raise your hands? Reaction? Just raise your hands. Let me see how many of us are breathing. Or if somebody has forgotten to breathe. No, everybody is breathing. Great. Cool. So doctors say that human beings approximately take up 20,000 breaths per day. We take 20,000 breaths per day. Okay. Great. Everybody is breathing. I'm happy to see that. May I ask you to lower your hand so that I can ask my next question? Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. So my next question is, how many of us are skilled in the technique of breathing? You know, there are certain breathing techniques that we can learn. So how many of us have learned that pranayam? Any show of hands here? Oh, many people, all those I can see here have learned. Jyoti, ma'am, Manjula, Mohita, ma'am, Shweta, all of you have learned. Do you think it helps you, pranayam?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
sure it does.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, because when we learn the technique of breathing, I also practice it, and it has immense benefits for overall well-being, mental as well as physical. So why is it that something that a child, you know, a small infant who is just born starts breathing on his own, right? Something that we all have right from childhood, why do we need to learn it? We need to learn it so that we can do it in a way that gives us maximum benefit. And that is the same thing with life skills. Life skills are the skills that help us live our life well. Okay. Uh, they are the skills which help us to live a very, very good quality of life, right? Just like pranayam enhances our well-being, life skills enhance the quality of our life. These skills can be personal skills, they can be social, interpersonal, they can be cognitive thinking skills also, and they are affective skills, skills to do with the heart. These skills are universal. Every human being needs them, irrespective of age, irrespective of location, anywhere in the world, irrespective of who that person is. Everybody needs life skills. And life skills are aimed at behavior change. Do you remember NEP saying competency-based education? We need to measure the outcomes. Now, how can we measure outcomes? Only when there is a behavior change. So when we learn life skills, automatically our behavior changes. And that is how we know that we have learned. Now, here a word of caution. In the NEP also, there are some erroneous things. For example, a skill like swimming. Okay, many people would say it is a life skill because it helps us survive. But swimming is technically not a life skill. Okay, because life skills are psychosocial abilities. Yeah, swimming is a survival skill. The skill of making a PPT, people would say it is a life skill. Nowadays, everybody needs to know how to make a presentation. It is not. It is a technical skill. So life skills are psychosocial in nature. That is something that we must remember. They are abilities which are psychosocial in nature. Many times, even after explaining so much, people are not able to understand. People who ask me, what do I do? And then I have to give them a really hard-hitting example. And with your permission, that is what I'm going to do now. And it is something that, even now when I think about it, my heart becomes heavy. Right now also, I'm feeling very, very sad when I think about it. I think all of you would have read in the papers a few days back about this incident. Can somebody recollect what I'm talking about?
You're
Yes, ma'am.
talking of the student suicides in Kota?
Yeah, exactly. Swati ma'am, bang on. So this girl who committed a suicide in Kota, and this has been a recurring incident of students in Kota committing suicide, and this is her suicide note. And it's terrible to read what she's writing. Mummy and Papa, I can't do G, so I suicide. I'm a loser. I was daughter. Sorry, Mummy, Papa, yahi last option hai. Now, this suicide note actually gives us a glimpse into the trauma that this child would have experienced. Preparing for an exam. She's not even taken the exam. It's not that she's taken the exam and failed. She was preparing for it. And even in the preparation, just because she's not able to prepare, she makes it her identity and she says, I'm not able to prepare for this exam, so I'm a loser. Because I'm a loser, I'm the worst daughter because I'm not able to fulfill your expectations. And the worst thing is a child who thinks that the only option she has at that point of time is ending her life. Isn't it sad? And do you know, as a psychologist, I can tell you this, in your classroom, there are students like this who are sitting there mentally composing notes like this. They are there in all our classrooms. And what are we doing to help them? What are we doing to lessen their pain? As educators, as parents, as compassionate adults, you know where the burden of this responsibility lies? Yes, of course, to the parents, to the society, yes, but a part of this burden of responsibility always also lies on our door because we could not teach this child the skills to face the challenges that life throws at her. We could not teach her that your identity is not a success in an examination. It goes much beyond that. You cannot be a loser because you're not able to prepare for one exam. We are not able to teach the child the skills to reach out to a supportive adult, to share with a friend who can really help her out. We are not able to teach that child to look at life in a perspective which says there will always be more options. We are not able to do that through our education system, right? And these are the skills, my dear friends, that our children today need to learn so that we can prevent many more suicide notes, right? And these skills are life skills. Life skills are the skills which help our young people develop adaptive behaviors. This is a challenge. Let me see how I can adapt to it, right? positive behaviors. Okay, I'm not able to cope. Whom can I reach out for help? What are the other options that I have? And when they do that, what they do is they deal effectively with the demands and challenges of life. And my dear friends, as the COVID pandemic has shown us, we have no idea what challenges our learners will face in future times. The only thing that we can do is we can help them, we can equip them with the abilities that they need to face any possible challenge. And these abilities are life skills that we're talking about, right? So, which is why life skills are so crucial, so critical, especially for the youth and for everyone. And if we are able to do that, I'm sure many of you would have seen this wonderful video. Really brings a smile on my face. This is what happens when you know life skills. The world throws a challenge at you and you say, bring it on. I can handle anything that comes my way, right? And I can take it in my stride and I can do a small jiggle over it, right? And this is the attitude that we want our students to have. So then, are you ready to learn more about life skills?
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely, ma'am.
Now I need to learn the skill of how to come out of this, because this is the first time that I have embedded a video. Okay. And it worked. Just give me a moment. Yes. So any questions, any sharing at this point? Anything that you would like to ask?
Ma'am, is life skills like you should have shown in this video? This boy was like after he fall down, he was still happy dancing. So do you think it's always a basic nature? It can't be learned like my child, I would say. He's very, 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 very sensitive. Like if he falls down, he'll be definitely crying. If his
Yes.
exams are coming, he'll be in so much of tension. Me being such a cool parent, still he's in tension. So don't you think that life skills are something inherent? Or maybe I was also there like that only in my childhood. So because of that, he's like that. So can that be learned like in this age, the
Yes.
age he is in?
Okay. So that's a wonderful question. Shweta ma'am, thanks a ton for that. And it's a really important question. Okay. Can life skills be learned? And I get this asked many, many, many times. Now, there is tons of research which proves that life skills can be learned. Okay. Pre-post, very scientific, very strong data. I have done my research on pre-service teachers. And yes, after intervention, each and every teacher was able to learn life skills. Right. So the point is that all of us are born with life skills. There is nobody who does not have life skills, right? What we're trying is we're trying to nurture the skills in us, and what each child or each adult needs is different, right? So suppose you're saying that your son is very sensitive and probably he takes things to heart very much. So probably he needs to learn the skills of coping, coping with his emotions, coping with his stress, and that is his special need. And probably with training, with teaching him these skills, he will definitely be able to overcome his own emotions and his own stress. Like you yourself have, right? Life taught you. You were a sensitive child, but now you're a cool parent. So life taught you how to deal with it. Yeah. But everybody is not so fortunate to learn from life, which is why focus training is important, because if focus training is given, then definitely each and every skill that we are talking about, each and every skill can be learned. I can assure you that, because I've seen it work and I've seen it happen. Yeah, somebody has raised a hand. I think I'm not able to see the name. Yes, please, ma'am.
Yeah, myself Tina Kodin, assistant professor.
Yes, Tina.
Ma'am, I just want to add here. I feel that the today's generations, I feel somewhere the parents are to be blamed at, not, and because whatever the child wants, everything is at their, doorstep. Like
Dispose.
there's
Yes.
no answer to them. So eventually when they fail, so they are not in a position to accept that failure. So I think the basic education of handling stress, or basic education of, to cope up with the life, begins from the family or from the parents,
100%.
wherein they are supposed to say no to their child, even if the parents are well off and they can, afford to buy, or complete or fulfill their demands. That is what I feel. They
100%.
are, so nowadays their students, or the children are not able to handle any smallest of the smallest stress because of this reason.
Correct.
To say that.
I totally agree with you, ma'am. We need to have life skills training for parents. In fact, as a counselor, when a parent approaches me for the child's issue, I always say that please come for a session first before I talk to the child, because many a times that is from where the issue comes up. So life skills training, very important for all stakeholders, parents, teachers, administrators, everybody needs it. And then the learner also needs it. Right. So everybody has to come under that gambit. Right. So
Ma'am,
with
one
this,
query.
yes,
Sorry to interrupt. Just one query.
done.
It's
Yes,
not
please.
actually query. I'm not taking the expressions because we are like in a positive time. Mr. Mani says soft skills, language, and grooming. Are the technical skills or life skills?
Okay, now this is again a wonderful question. Swati ma'am, I'm so happy because normally, in an online session, I really look forward to good questions which are hard to come by. But in this session, a lot of wonderful questions and sharing is coming up. So, what is the difference between soft skills and life skills? Now, soft skills are psychosocial skills, but skills which address just the surface of the problem. For example, they say communication is a soft skill, or language, learning how to use a language, or learning how to speak, your modality, your tone, your facial expressions, public speaking, all this they say would fall into the gambit of soft skills. The difference between soft skills and life skills is, in life skill, we delve into the knowledge, the attitudes and values component as well. I'll just go back. Oh, no, I won't, because again, that video will come up. But if you remember, life skills includes knowledge, it includes skills. Okay, both are covered in soft skills, but soft skills may not cover the attitudes and the values part, which we stress very, very much in life skills. So, for example, when we teach, say, communication in life skills, we begin by asking, what is it that you want to communicate? Why do you want to communicate this thing? Does it align with you as a person, your values, your beliefs? And then and only then can you authentically communicate. So there is this kind of sort of, the depth in terms of attitudes and values, which is not there when we do any kind of soft skills training. That is the difference between soft skills and life skills. But yeah, a superficial kind of training will come under the purview of soft skills. Thank you, Swati ma'am, for that question. Is there
Okay,
any other
thank you.
question asked in the
Ma'am,
maybe the comments?
Yes, the comments are there, and they're telling that it is this ma'am Malika ma'am. She's saying, just to share, where we teach, we have annual round of inspections where we are encouraged to show progress and not so much stress on attainment.
Yeah,
that
wonderful.
really helps teachers and the school not to push attainment in the high grades as end goal, but make learning itself enjoyable.
Wonderful. That is really wonderful. And that is actually what we're talking about here, to enjoy the process and to learn what is really needed. Yeah. So thank you so much for that sharing. Now, delving directly into what are the life skills that we are talking about so much. So there are various models of life skills, but the WHO model of life skills, the one given by the World Health Organization, is the model which is widely used across all education systems. So which is why we are considering the WHO model here. Now, the WHO model considers life skills in three main parts: social skills, coping skills, and thinking skills. And they consider a total of 10 core life skills. And what the WHO model says is, if you teach these 10 core life skills to the students, you will equip them to deal with any challenge that they face. So let us look at each group, okay, one by one. So the first set of skills is the social skills. Now, social skills has 4 core life skills in the social skills component. The first skill is self-awareness. Okay. Now, self-awareness is what we call the mother skill. Yeah. And if you remember the World Bank's Future of Jobs report, they said World Economic Forum, not World Bank. They said they showcased 5 skills that are needed for the future. Right now, nobody is talking about self-awareness as a skill that we really need. But mark my words, in another 10 years, it's going to be a hot topic, because self-awareness is at the foundation of all life skills. Without self-awareness, we cannot ever learn creative thinking or analytical skills, right? So self-awareness is basically to know ourselves without any filters, without any biases, without any judgments. In the context of our young people, it is about helping them find their passion and their purpose. Okay. So let me ask you all, how many of you, when you were in college, you knew exactly what you wanted to do? Or were you drifting like me? Okay. So let me quickly share my journey. I started out taking up science. Then in FY, I thought, okay, everybody who has good marks is going in for microbiology. So I will take microbiology. Did 1 year of microbiology, realized that my life is not meant to be staring into a microscope. That's not what I am. So I gave that up in the second year, faced a lot of ire for wasting one seat from the HOD, who even now, sometimes when I meet him, he looks at me with so much of anger. Then went on to complete my graduation in chemistry, thinking, okay, ye aisa kuch hai which I will be able to, I'm little bit interested in this. Then I thought I was passionate about organic chemistry, went to do my post-graduation in that. And then I realized कि अरे ये सब करके मुझे actually क्या पसंद है, मुझे पढ़ाना पसंद है. That is what I like the most. Okay, so let me go and teach organic chemistry. So I started teaching it. Then I realized in order to teach organic chemistry, I need an additional qualification, which is B.Ed. So I went to do B.Ed. Now, while doing B.Ed, I realized, oh, this is what I like much more than teaching organic chemistry. So then and by that time, I was already married. So thankfully, because my family was very, very supportive in all my, all this exploration. So then I went on to do my master's, because I said, okay, now I don't want to teach organic chemistry. I want to teach how to teach. Master's किया. उसके बाद I thought, oh, master's करने के बाद psychology is really interesting and that is what I want to do. Drifted into psychology. Psychology में गई तो वहां पे life skills के बारे में पता चला. And I felt, yeah, this is it. This is what. Now, all this exploration has been going on till maybe I was around in my 30s. Right? And तभी मुझे पता चला कि ये भाई, this is exactly what I want to do. That is when I found my purpose and my passion. Right? Now imagine if I would have been nudged in that direction somewhere when I was a young adult. It would have changed my life so much. I would not have wasted my potential. I would have not wasted those seats that somebody who was really interested in microbiology or organic chemistry wanted. I really wouldn't have done that, right? So I feel self-awareness is so important for young people. We need to help them find what is their passion, what is it that they really want to feel alive while doing, and what is their purpose, because employability is also important. So ye dono, when we are able to do, self-awareness can focus on that and also on their identity. Because young people at the age groups that we are teaching are really struggling to know who they themselves are, which is why self-awareness a very, very critical skill for establishing a connection with ourselves. Not only for young people, for each and every person, for me, you, for everybody. Right? The next skill is empathy. We build a connection with ourselves through self-awareness. We build a connection with others through empathy. Really, really important. Many times, young people come and tell me how their parents don't understand them and how they are like being really overbearing, they are judgmental, etc., etc. Now, empathy, many times people feel empathy is something that will help me help the other person. Nobody thinks this, but it is 100% true. When I am able to understand the other person and I'm able to build my relationship on that foundation of understanding, my relationship brings me untold joy. That bit of understanding the other person makes me so happy, right? So empathy has dividends not only for the other person, it has huge dividends for the person who practices it, which is why empathy is so important for young people. They need to understand other people so that their relationships are built on a strong foundation. And then we have communication and interpersonal skills. Communication skills, how to communicate what you want and how to understand what the other person wants, right? Very, very important for young people, especially since they're exposed to so many things. And there are so many instances where they really need to communicate something. They don't know how to do it. For example, I do not want to share a particular photograph of mine. I do not want to do it, but I want to communicate it in such a way that my relationship is not hurt. How do I do that? Young people need to learn that. I need to tell my friend that, okay, you're having a party, but working on my assignment is important for me right now. I would like to come to the next party that you do, but this one I cannot come. How do I communicate to that person? Extremely important. Okay. Interpersonal skills, relationships. Now, people who are my age, okay, we thought we would fall in love, have one relationship, and that is it. Now, the whole gamut of relationships has changed, isn't it? So, young people now need the skills, and not only in romantic relationships, I'm talking of all kinds of relationships. They need the skills on how to build a relationship, how to maintain a relationship, and very, very importantly, how to end a relationship without lasting harm to self and to another person. Yeah, very, very important. So these are the four social skills. Now I'm just giving you an outline, a very, very brief outline. Okay, there is a lot to each skill. What I want to ask here is, do you think we can enhance these through education? To the subjects that we teach in class. For example, self-awareness. Subjects like psychology are very, very well attuned to teaching self-awareness. But then so is literature. And I would say so is a subject like chemistry, right? When I'm doing something, am I becoming more aware of myself? Like when I was working in the lab, I realized that I'm no good at things which require manual, some kind of manipulation with hands. I'm very clumsy, but I'm good at theory. Okay, that is what I realized. That is self-awareness. But my chemistry teacher did not teach me that. Imagine if we could integrate this as a part of our subject. Empathy. Can we teach it through whichever subject we teach? We're teaching business studies. Is there room for empathy in business? These are really questions that we need to deliberate on. Communication. Does it only belong in language classes, or is it something that we can teach in any class that we take? Is communication not important for a commerce graduate? Is it not important for a budding scientist? It is, right? Which is why we must teach it. And of course, interpersonal relationships, right? So I hope you will all agree with me when I say that all these social skills can be taught and must be taught through any subject that we teach. And you will see me saying that about all the skills that we are going to deal with. The next set of skills that we have are thinking skills. Now, these are cognitive skills. And oftentimes when we teach our subjects, we naturally teach them. So, for example, critical thinking and creative thinking. Very, very important. Critical thinking is thinking rationally. Creative thinking is thinking like there is no box at all. And here I'm going to share with you a simple activity, something that works very well in the classroom. I've tried it umpteen times, and you can also try it. I'm inviting you all to try this simple activity. If you have 10 minutes somewhere, your students are drooping, you want to generate some enthusiasm in them, just try this out. So it's a story with a problem to be solved. There was this pond which was teeming with healthy fish. The fish were very happy in the pond. There was lots to eat. They were all congenial. And overall, it was heaven in a pond. Now, what happened is a group of fishermen seemed to once took the road which led to the pond, and they came upon this pond and they saw this wonderful pond with all these healthy fish in it. And fishermen, being fishermen, said, "Oh, this seems to be our next spot. Why are we walking all the way to go to the sea when we can actually come to this pond, which is right in our locality, and fish here? So, from tomorrow, let us start fishing here. And once all the fish are over here, we'll again go back to our old fishing site." Now, a fish heard that and he knew that tomorrow morning is a day of decision making, right? Because tomorrow morning is the day when the fisherman will come, and by tomorrow evening, he does not know whether he or his brothers and sisters would still be alive. So they decided to call a council meeting. And they said, okay, this is the problem. Now we need to solve it. So, how do you think the fish would solve this problem of the fishermen coming next day and killing them one by one? How do you think, what kind of solutions do you think they could find? Any quick thoughts on this? Anything? No answer is like, you'll be amazed if you do this in class, you'll be amazed at the kind of answers which will come up. Okay.
Ma'am, we have an answer in the chat box. Varsha says that they can act dead.
Wonderful, amazing. So what happens when they act dead? The fishermen probably think that something killed them and they're not healthy, pretend to be dead. Right. And it's, you can't, a fisherman cannot catch dead fish. Right. So wonderful. A big round of applause to both of you for so quickly coming up with this. And it's a very viable solution, isn't it? And this solution which you have given, if you really think about it, you needed to think critically. You needed to look at what is it, what are the factors which will stop the fishermen from killing you, and then you needed to think of a creative way to use these factors to solve a problem, right? So like this, there are many activities that you can quickly do in class and really encourage critical thinking and creative thinking. And once the children discover the joy of creative thinking, they will never let ChatGPT take over their creativity. Let me promise you that, because they have realized how happy they are when they are creative, right? And then we have the next skill, problem solving and decision making. Now, again, this is a skill very well taught in the classroom. There are so many problems that we talk about. Any subject we teach, there is always problem solving and decision making. Just make it something that the children can use in their day-to-day life. For example, if you're talking about, because I am from the psychology background. So if we're talking about any kind of a theory, okay, how are we going to use it? What are the pros and cons of it? When will we use this and when will we not use this? Set them a problem that they can solve using what they have learned from this theory. Teach problem solving and decision making, which they can now employ to their day-to-day life. For example, young people have a lot of decisions to take, no? Which career do I choose? A major decision. Can we teach this skill in the classroom? And if we teach this skill, can you imagine what a difference it will make to their life? Problem solving. I have this much pocket money. I'm not able to manage my expenses. How do I do it? Right? So many avenues to teach the skills in the classroom. Now, here is an example of thinking skills in action, and also maybe a couple of social skills that I want to share with you. This small boy is Bodhisattva. His name is Bodhisattva. What happened is that he observed that his mom, who suffered from back pain, was not able to, she had a lot of trouble doing some household chores, one of them being bathroom cleaning, because she just could not, bend, and when she bent, her back would pain a lot. Now, what this boy does is he goes and invents something which he calls a Swachhata brush. And that is nothing but a brush which is stuck to a slipper. And the mother wears the slipper and the mother is able to clean the bathroom, okay, without hurting her back. And then he goes on to make these Swachhata brushes for anybody in the village who needs them. Do you see the thinking skills actually in action here? And a lot of empathy also. So if we are really able to teach these skills to our children, okay, our students, can you imagine the kind of amazing things which can happen? Right? And which is why I'm making a very, very strong case for teaching these skills in the classroom. And then we come to the last set of skills, which you all spoke about, coping with emotions, coping with stress. Shweta ma'am, especially for you, right? And for everybody else. Because in any workshop that I take, when I ask them out of the 10 skills, which are the ones that you want to learn, these always come out at the top. Okay. So, coping skills are very important for us to cope with all the internal and the external challenges. For example, coping with stress. If we are just able to ask ourselves a simple question, in this situation that I have, what are the things which are in my control? What are the things which are out of my control? This is taken from a strategy given by Stephen Covey in his book, Seven Habits of Effective People. Okay. So he says, just think about this. What are things which are in my control? For example, my response to a situation is always in my control. My thinking patterns always in my control. My beliefs, my self-talk in my control. But what is not in my control? The things which are not in my control is the attitude of other people. Okay. What others think of me. If I'm stressed out, whether this person will think, okay, I'm a okay person, whether this person is going to think I'm a good teacher or I'm a bad teacher. If we just get stressed out about these things, other people's feelings oftentimes, okay. If I say this, not to say we should not be empathetic, but other people's feelings are not in our control. The feeling of guilt that we oftentimes get. Okay. Many people come to me saying, I feel so guilty because I made that person feel this way. But nobody can make anybody feel in any way. Our feelings are totally our own, right? So I cannot make somebody else feel bad. So taking responsibility for other person's feelings, carrying the weight of other person's opinions on our shoulders. All these things are things which stress us out. And if we were just able to analyze that, we would lose a lot of our stress and we would definitely become more relaxed as people. So teaching strategies like this and many more will help us. Imagine if that girl who committed suicide would be able to analyze her problem in this way. Would that not help her? Just thinking that the outcome, okay, the result of whatever is not in my hands. What is in my hands? The efforts that I put in. So let me do whatever I can. Yeah. Shweta has raised her hand. Shweta, would you?
Yes, ma'am. I would also say that we should also teach them for plan B in their life,
Definitely.
because we like students who are preparing themselves for higher education, for NET, maybe for doctor and engineering, they have not been even told that anything else will also work in your life except this. They've
Absolutely.
been told यही करना है, यही करना है, यही करना है, right? So because of that, the reason they are not even thinking that कुछ और भी हम कर सकते हैं.
Correct. Very valid observation, Shweta ma'am. We have to teach them plan B, and to teach them plan B, they have to have self-awareness. What capabilities do I have? What are my strengths? What is it that I'm going to excel at? And then what are my possible avenues in which I can work? पहला ये है, लेकिन और चार भी है मेरे पास that I can try out. So that's a wonderful point, and that will really help them because it's not like this is my do or die option. I have other options as well, isn't it? That is what you're trying to say. So that will definitely 100% help.
Ma'am,
One more person has raised, Aparna ma'am. Yes.
Hi, ma'am. Actually,
Hi.
I wanted to say that I have interacted with quite a few parents. And one thing that I've seen is, like you said, parents first need to understand the things that we are discussing here,
Yes,
more than us talking to students. Because
I
so
agree.
many times, the things that we are just discussing, they do not understand. The pressure that comes is more from their end rather than the students and their friends or from us. There was this parent that I had spoken to. She's working with KPMG, and she was hell bent on making sure that her son works for KPMG or the big five. And whatever career options that I was discussing with her for the child, she's like, वो सब तो ठीक है मैम, लेकिन उसको तो बिग 5 में ही जाना है. तो आप उस हिसाब से बताइए हायर एजुकेशन कैसे करना है.
Right.
बिकॉज मैं रिक्रूटमेंट कर रही हूँ केपीएमजी में, मुझे पता है क्या क्या चीज की जरूरत पड़ती है, मैं उसको गाइड कर दूंगी मैम. So somehow it just invalidates whatever we were trying to do for that
Yeah,
child.
definitely, 100%. And it invalidates the child as well, right? She's not even
Yeah.
considered what her son would like to do, where his talents lie. That is not considered at all. And if I may say this, that is because these parents, this generation, okay, my generation and the generations before that, we have not learned life skills. It was not there. Nobody taught us this. We have not learned it. The generation before us, probably my generation also to some extent, came from a joint family. So there were so many people and we were looking at them and we were learning from them. But now the situation has totally changed, which is why such a strong need to, yes, 100% to teach parents, right? And to involve them in some kind of a parent training program where they also learn life skills, and then to teach the students, to our learners, because at some point they are also going to be parents, right? So they should not go on the same path that their parents have followed. So very, very important. Thank you for sharing that, Aparna ma'am. And then
Pleasure.
coping with emotions. Again, a huge topic. Everybody, struggles with their emotions. Many of us say, I do not want to feel this way. I do not want to feel angry. I do not want to feel sad. Right? So how do we do that? How, a simple example, right? I had a friend who was sharing with me and saying, I'm so upset. Somebody, and it's a very common thing for educators, na? Even though we are not from the corporate world, it's even worse in the corporate world. But she played a game with me. This is how she betrayed me. This is what she did in the meeting. This is what she said. And I told her this in confidence, but this is how she misused it against me. How could she do this? I thought she was my friend. And she had been, experiencing this for 2 days. And after 2 days, she called me and she said, I'm just not able to sleep because so and so thing has happened. And I just asked her one question, this person who has done this, okay, what did you do for 2 days? You came home, you got angry with everybody in the family because an anger came out on them. You could not sleep at night. You went to college the next day. You could not focus. You got angry with some students also when the principal called. That principal also asked you, what happened? Why are you looking like this? And you could not reply and you just started crying. All that happened to you. What is that person doing? That day, she did like this with you. She went home. She probably put her feet up and watched her best favorite TV show. She slept soundly at night. She came the next day. She took all her classes, right? Now, this anger that you have against that person, whom is it harming? Is it really harming that person? Is it doing anything to lessen the issue that you have with that person? No, it's only harming us, isn't it? So if only we were to ask ourselves, if I was kind to myself, if I was self-compassionate, would I still carry that anger in my heart? Would I let it ruin 2 days of my life and maybe impact my other relationships also? I wouldn't, right? I would say, okay, this has happened with me. She has behaved weirdly. I'm very angry, but let me see how I can be kind to myself. So today, after I go home, let me relax for some time. Let me do whatever it is that I like. Read a book that I like, listen to music that I like, maybe cook a good meal if I feel like it, or maybe say, I'm not going to cook today, let's order from outside. Because I want to be kind to myself. And this is how I can manage my own emotions and come back the next day balanced and self-composed. Kindness to ourselves. And imagine if that girl who committed suicide, she was able to be self-compassionate. She was really able to be with herself when she was undergoing all these issues. She was able to understand that this is suffering, but everybody is suffering like this. And what can I do? This is a moment. Today it is there, tomorrow it's going to pass. If only she was able to realize that. So coping with emotions is a really critical skill that we need to teach. It's something, and Shweta ma'am, it is something which can be learned. Definitely. And it's very, very, very helpful. Okay.
Ma'am, I would like to say something here.
Yes, please. Shubha ma'am. Yes.
Ma'am.
Yes, please.
You were talking about self-compassion. I would
Yes.
also like to add here that many problems in our life arises because we are not able to forgive others or we are not able to let go.
Yes.
One of the
100%.
life skills that I feel that every student or every individual, whether in corporate or whether in school, college, has to be taught is ego management. I might have all the skills, but if I don't have ego management, I might not fit in anywhere, or I might not be able to do a good teamwork, or maybe I might, be left behind in my life because of these emotions.
Yes.
So if you know to forgive and let go, and most of your problems will automatically melt away. Is what I
Absolutely.
feel. I feel.
100. I agree with you 100%, ma'am. So if I'm self-aware that the cause of my problems is not how other people are behaving with me, but it is my own ego which is taking over, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
when we speak about self-awareness, we will speak about this thing that you have to identify what is the cause, whether it is coming from you or whether it is coming from somebody else. And then when we talk about coping skills, we talk about how to let go of those things, how to sort of accept that this is happening and then say, okay, I choose to let go. Yeah, because that is, you're absolutely right. That is very, very, very critical. Huh?
And like Shweta ma'am said, that if that girl knew that there could be a plan B in life, so she
Absolutely.
could have maybe thought from that angle. So I
Yes.
think with the new education policy, with the multidisciplinary subjects, I'm sure many students will try to understand that they have different skills in them other than the just the normal subjects that we teach.
Yes, absolutely. And we need to support them while they do that because this is all new, right? It's going
Because
to be
dance,
introduced.
painting, everything now is going to be a part of the curriculum other than the normal curriculum. So
Yes,
definitely many
absolutely.
students will now know that this could be their plan B maybe.
Right. But it will not happen unless and until we teach them to analyze their strengths, ma'am. Because
Yes,
you can
yes,
have 100 creative things in the syllabus. The parents will still say you have to do this academic thing. Right.
correct,
So
correct.
unless the child knows that these are my strengths, and we need to help our child discover that. And then only can the child have many plans and options open in front
True.
of them. Right. So thank
Yes,
you so much. Thanks a lot for your sharing. It's very, very relevant. Yeah. So now these are the 10 core life skills that we have spoken about in a nutshell: problem solving, decision making, creative critical thinking, communication and interpersonal skills, self awareness, empathy, coping with emotions, and coping with stress. And that is something that we really need to sort of help our children learn. Now, I had planned for a query pause here. What I am going to do is we will take this query pause at the end now. Yeah, looking at the time because it is 1851 now, right? So, one thing to ponder on is which life skills do we want to nurture and how do we decide that? We need to analyze. So, if you are able to do this, is an analysis that I did of my students. If you are able to do some kind of an analysis with your students, you will come to know. Like, for example, Shweta ma'am was talking about her son. If you're able to analyze your son, you will come to know which are the life skills that he needs more. Everybody needs all life skills, but the needs are also individual. And then we can focus on the skills which are more required. Okay. Now, if we want to talk about competency based life skills education, UGC quality mandate. This is a publication by UGC. It's available online. They have said that each higher education institution needs to have a life skills course. They have also laid down the number of hours, the credits, what needs to be included, everything in that life skills course. These are the skills that they are talking about. You can look at this book. Useful model that you can use, and many of you would be aware of this, is the conscious competence model. Now, if we use this model for life skills education, what we need to do is initially our student will have unconscious incompetence. The child will not know what they don't know. For example, they might not know that I'm not self aware. I have never explored what are my strengths and weaknesses. First, the first step is making them aware of that. What is it that they don't know? Teaching them a little bit of all the 10 life skills. Once we do that, they will know, okay, out of these 10, these are the three that I really want to work on. That is when we take them to the stage of conscious incompetence. Now they know what they don't know. Then slowly we give them inputs for overcoming the gap, whichever skill it is. Suppose they say, I need to learn how to communicate better with others. We give them focused training on that. That is when they start practicing conscious competence. But when they're practicing, they might not be able to practice so well. So they will struggle, they will come back, we guide them further. And that is how we take them from conscious competence to unconscious competence. Unconscious competence is like, for example, for those who drive here, okay, or do anything that we've been doing for years. We do it without a thought. Right. So at that point of time, the person who is struggling with communication is able to integrate all the skills and is able to really teach in such a way that the teaching is smooth. That not teach, I mean communicate in such a way that the communication is very smooth. The person has attained the level of unconscious competence. So this is a very useful model that we can use for competency-based education. So now we are at the end of the presentation, and the question that I want to ask you is, would you really like to transform learning using the power of life skills? And I would really like a show of hands, please. How many of you would really like to do this in your classrooms? Okay, so many people are saying yes. There might be a few who are 14, only 14 people. Okay, so now here I'm going to share quickly a personal experience that might help to convert the others too. We are all teachers, and at a certain point, we are going to reach a stage where we will retire. And the college or the institution that you're working in will hold a farewell for you. And it happened with me, okay, recently. So they held a farewell for me, and my students spoke. And in the 5 minutes that my students spoke, okay, what I realized was that though I had put in so much effort in the teaching of concepts, and oftentimes they would write to me and say earlier that, ma'am, we use this when we taught, we are very happy that you taught us this, etc. In my farewell, they just spoke about what they learned from me in terms of life skills. They said, ma'am, you made us aware of our strengths, and that is why we are where we are. They said, I was in such a bad place, and you helped me realize that there could be other options, and that is how I was able to overcome that issue. All the students who spoke of the life skills that I was in some way, I helped them with. And if you, like me, think that the love that we get from our students, that is the only treasure that we have, right? When we retire, there's no pot of gold waiting for us. But the love that our students give us, that is our most valuable gift. And if you want to get that love, you have to be a life skills educator. There is no better way. I can tell you that from experience. So if it is your farewell, what is it that your students would say about you? If you're a life skills educator, they will only say good things. Yeah. So finishing off, what is the way forward for integrating life skills? A, like Swati ma'am, take the first step and plan a life skills focused FDP for faculty. Following that, identify the faculty who are very, very interested. For them, you could have a master trainers course, right? Where they could actually teach life skills. The next step would be to develop a life skills curriculum relevant to your course. UGC has already given the guideline, but you need to adapt it, and any support that you need, that is available. Run the course for one semester. That is what I have learned from when, I've helped people design life skills courses. Don't just introduce it in all the classes, just run it for one semester first. After that, come back, we see what is missing, we add that, and then slowly introduce it across the courses. And when you do that, you will fulfill the guideline given by NEP. Any support that you need, I would be really, really happy to help. It's been wonderful interacting with you. And if we have maybe 5 minutes, Swati ma'am, we actually have only 3 minutes. Okay. One or two questions you think there is time to take, if possible? And if there are.
I guess, ma'am, if there are any questions, the participants can put in the chat box. We can take one or two, or
Sure.
they can unmute and ask.
Yeah.
I would really appreciate if there are questions, and we can save the opinions, because opinions, like it's a churning, बहुत कुछ चल रहा है सबके दिमाग में. So any questions, they can put in the chat box or ask personally. We have a minute. Yeah, I see some hands being raised. Mitali, do you want to ask something?
Ma'am, is emotional regulation a part of life course, or there'll be a separate curriculum, because we will include it in life skill only, right? Emotional regulation.
Yes, coping with emotions. We would do it under coping with emotions.
Okay.
It's very important. Yes.
Yes, there's another hand. I don't see the name. It's just coming up as user's iPhone. You have a question? We have a question from Gauri Harish, and she's asking, can life skill be taught even in early childhood curriculum?
Yes, definitely. It can start right from preschool. It can go to any level. I mean, even retired people, we've had courses on life skills for retired people as well. So at every stage of our life, we need different life skills. There's a beautiful UNICEF document which talks about what we need to teach in preschool as well. So it can be taught at any level, definitely, even preschool. And in fact, if we start there, it would be most effective, I feel.
Gauri ma'am, Varsha here. Can I just I have a doubt. Same, I was about to ask the same question what Miss Gauri asked. So I did add some life skill topic in my daily curriculum for my preschooler. So it involves organizing the clothes, folding. So all these things are a part of life skill, right? And my major concern goes with emotional regulation, like how to start, at this tender age when they have separation anxiety, and from the parents, or not really understanding how to share and all those things. So how to start with this aspect of coping with emotions or all these things for preschooler? What would be the right start?
Right. Thank you for your question. It's amazing to know that you've already started with your children.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to skills like organizing clothes, okay?
Yeah.
Now, that in itself is not a life skill because it is a
Okay.
technical skill.
Okay.
Because we organize, but there is self-discipline involved when we organize clothes. We have to discipline ourselves, right? So that is the life skill. That is a life skill component of. So every technical skill has a life skills component. And if we are able to teach that component as well, many times that component gets ignored. But if we're able to teach that as well, then that skill is sustainable. It will go on. The child will carry it into adulthood. That is what we are hoping for. Okay. Now, emotional regulation for small children. When children are very small, it is difficult for them to regulate their emotion as such, because emotional regulation as a skill comes in only when the child grows a little older. When the child is small in preschool, what is important is to identify what am I feeling. That is something that even a small child can identify. So anything happens, a child will start crying. Now, are you crying because you're angry? Are you crying because you're sad? Are you crying because you're hungry? So at that stage, probably what we can teach is identification of emotions, right? So that is how we start with life skills at a young age. Does that answer your question, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Perfectly, because I was struggling how to start with, because this tiny children, it's such a wrong expectation that we
Correct.
want to regulate them, their emotions, when they're
Yeah,
still
yeah.
not even having awareness how they are feeling and why are they feeling. So thank you
100%.
so much. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. So here, because Varsha ma'am, you brought up this question and many of you have asked this, Amity University is running a course specially for educators and also for mental health professionals. It's a 6-month certificate course in life skills. If you're interested, I'm a part of it. So if you're interested, I can just share the information with Swati ma'am, and then she can circulate it for those who are interested, if you would like to learn.
Sure, ma'am. Please share. Yeah, thank you.
Shweta ma'am has raised her hand.
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, I raised my hand that I'm interested.
Okay, in the course. Okay, so I'll share the
Yes.
flyer. Yeah, I'll share the flyer with
Yes,
Swati
yes.
ma'am, and you can just find out
Yes,
maybe
ma'am.
and enroll.
Yes.
It's a
Yes,
weekend course, Saturday, Sunday, because they've made it for
Okay.
working professionals, and we have tried to cover life skills holistically.
Ma'am, we have so many questions in the chat box and we really do not
Oh.
have the time. So I am requesting the
Yeah.
participants that Dr. Gauri is very kind enough to share her contact details on the slide. You have her email ID, you have her number, and if there is something you need help with, you can contact her via mail or whatever she allows, very kindly allows to. And yes, there is another. I'm also interested. So I'll share the flyer as soon as Gauri ma'am shares it with me.
Right, right, yes. And what I would encourage you to do is actually to organize a course so that all interested people can learn together in your own institution. That will definitely work. Okay, so that is also an
Yes,
option.
ma'am.
Yeah, it can
Yes,
be
ma'am.
thought. Okay, so please feel free to write to me over email, or you can message me. My number is also here. Not an SMS because I don't read SMSs, but WhatsApp is good. Yeah, and if I delay the answer, please allow me. I will definitely get back to you. I assure you, 100%. Okay, so thank you very, very much for such a wonderful session. It was even more invigorating than my chai, which I feel always wakes me up and makes me feel alive. And this session was something that I really enjoyed, especially because of your questions and your sharing. Thank you very, very much, Swati ma'am, for giving me an opportunity to be here, and the audience for making it so amazing. Thanks so much.
I agree with you, ma'am, that we have a wonderful audience with us. I mean, we didn't know when time flew and we wanted more interaction. We would love to have you for more sessions, maybe. And again, I mean, the participants are putting in the chat box that it was a great session. So it's my duty to transfer all the gratitude and thanks to you. I would like to request Shweta ma'am to propose the vote of thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much, Swati ma'am. As rightly said, we really want to listen more and more and more. This was such a interactive session we had and such a interesting things which you discussed with us. But to propose, I got that opportunity. So, as rightly said by Gauri ma'am, life skills helps us to live our life, and this we come to know through our self-awareness. So on behalf of Gyan Ganga Education Trust, Degree College of Arts, Commerce and Science, I, Assistant Professor Shweta Bajpai, Coordinator of BMS Department, would like to propose a vote of thanks for today's wonderful session. Thank you so much, Dr. Gori ma'am, for your insightful presentation and engaging discussions. It has undoubtedly expanded our understanding of competency-based life skills education. I would like to express my gratitude to organizing committee for wonderful FDP session. Thank you so much, Swati ma'am. Would also like to thank our respected principal, Dr. Bhavika Karkera, for motivating and guiding us for this FDP. Last but not the least, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to all the participants who attended this FDP. Few of them attended through YouTube Live as well. Your active involvement has made this a resounding success. I'm sure the knowledge and insightful gain that we have greatly been benefited. So thank you so much, Gauri ma'am, for coming to for doing this FDP, and through this we have learned so many things, and definitely life skills play such an important role in our life. We'll definitely learn and go with this course which you told to us. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thanks. Thanks a lot. Looking forward to meeting you all at some other point also.
Sure,
Thanks.
sure.
Thanks a ton. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you, Swati ma'am.
All the participants are requested to kindly
Thank
fill
you,
the
ma'am.
feedback form because feedback is really very important for us.
It will help us to, it will encourage us to
Yes.
organize much more. Shweta ma'am, I'd like to thank you since she said thank you to organizing committee. She's a part of it. Yeah.
Many are we are there. It's a teamwork.
Yes, yes, all of us are there. Thank you, Gauri ma'am. Thank you for joining us. And we can take a leave now.
I will take your leave now. Thanks a ton. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Bye. Good night.
Participants, a kind request to fill the feedback form and then leave the session.
Shweta madam. Hello, Shweta madam, are you there?
Yes, sir, boliye.
Where is feedback link?
It's there in the chat box, sir.
Okay.
Did you got that message?
Just a minute.
I would request the team to kindly repost it.
If because lots of messages are there.
Yeah. It's there, sir. I hope you found it.
I'll just repost
Yeah,
it.
got it, madam.
Still, Swati ma'am, could you please repost it for others if they are
Just a
not
second.
able?
Yeah. Those who have missed on the link, I've sent it again.
Ma'am, I'm done with feedback. Can I leave this session, ma'am?
Please, ma'am, if you
Thank
please
you.
make sure that you've recorded. Yes. I hope all the participants are able to fill the form. There's no technical issue in filling it up. Okay, ma'am, there is a participant requesting, can you please send the link on the WhatsApp group? Some problem at my end, link not opening on my laptop. So, ma'am, can you send us a hi or maybe a text, because there's so many participants and identifying your number would be difficult for us.
Yeah, could you just message any one of us, me or Swati ma'am, your number? You send a hi on WhatsApp. We cannot send on WhatsApp group.
But Shweta ma'am and Tina ma'am, there were some participants who joined us on YouTube, and they would like to have the feedback form. So we can share it on the WhatsApp group itself.
I hope it was asked to the technical team to share on the YouTube as well.
Maybe let's send on the WhatsApp. Some people were not able to see it. Maybe it passed or something. Just send on the WhatsApp group.
Participant, you don't worry, in case it will be mailed to you. An official mail, through your official mail, you will be communicated the feedback link. We won't be sending it on WhatsApp group.